Hi everybody, welcome to week 3, and I thought I'd take a couple of minutes to talk about some software that we could use in our technology forum. And in this week, the topic is software we can use for academic use. So I went to our classroom and to the digital toolbox. And when I think about academic use, especially when I think about the written assignments, the thing that comes to my mind the most is word processing. So when I went to the digital toolbox and clicked on Word document, what you can see is that we have a series of 4 tools here. Microsoft Word, which is available to you, and you have likely been using it as part of your Microsoft 365 account for UAGC. And then they have 3 others. One is Google Docs, one is Apple Pages, and one is Adobe Acrobat Pro. And I'll start here at the bottom. Please do not use Adobe Acrobat Pro as a word processor. It's an incredibly useful program, but not for word processing. It is difficult to set up pages correctly. It's difficult to get the right font and the right size. It's difficult to edit. There's just all kinds of issues with using Adobe Acrobat Pro. On top of that, it is not a free program. You have to pay, I think, $15 a month to use it. So there are other alternatives that are better and are free. So while Adobe Acrobat Pro does have its place, as a word processor, I simply can't recommend it. Apple Pages is very specific to Macintosh products. So if you have an iPad or an iMac or a MacBook Pro or any of the Apple devices, it might even be on an iPhone. I'm not sure. I don't have an iPhone to check, but it is Apple's proprietary word processor. So you have access to it if you have an Apple machine. I will tell you though that if you don't, you can't open those documents unless the person who created it puts it in a format that you can. So I have an iMac. It's actually sitting right there. I have an iMac, and when I create a document in Apple Pages, I make sure to save it as a Word document so that when I send it to people, they have a better shot of being able to open it. Google Docs and Microsoft Word have very, very similar looks and feels. So if somebody doesn't have access to Microsoft Word, I always say go to Google Docs, because you'll be able to save it in a format that anybody can open, and you will likely be really familiar with the interface when you see that. So that's what we're going to take a look at here quickly. I'll click on Google Docs, and it'll take us out to the main page for the Google Docs application. And if you have a Google account already, you can probably just go to Docs. If you don't, I think you can probably still go to Docs, but you sign up for an account and it will allow you in. So we'll click on Go to Docs. And what you can see is that I have access to documents not only that I've created, but that other people have shared with me. At the top of the Google Docs, you'll see that you can start a brand new document. But what I think is really impressive about Google Docs is that there are a ton of templates. And these 2 templates, and there are more, are resume templates. And so as you work through your academic program, one of the things that you can do is you can start early and start creating your resume now. And in Google Docs, there's a template to do that. There's also templates in Microsoft Word if you'd prefer to go that direction. But I have been really impressed with the template gallery in Google Docs. So what I'll do is I'll show you a document that I wrote, and note that I haven't written all these documents, but they have been shared with me in some form or another. So I think we'll look at this document. And this is, oh goodness, this is an introductory paragraph, sort of a proposal for one of my many novel writing projects. But it's a good example of just what a basic Google Docs document looks like. It looks very much like Microsoft Word, if you're familiar with that. What you can see here is that I have the same font as a Microsoft Word default, and I can change that at any point in time just by clicking on it and selecting the font that I want to use. I'll show you one thing that students sometimes either forget to do or don't know how to do, and that is double space a document. As you've noticed in some of our written assignments, either for previous classes or for this class, one of the instructions is to double space your work, and have it in Times New Roman is the second thing that is almost universal with a written assignment. And sometimes students either forget to do that or they don't know how, so they simply leave it as they originally typed it. And I'll show you both in Google Docs and in Microsoft Word how to do both of those things. And the thing I hope you notice is that the process is almost identical. So when you have a document, and that's what you should do, just type your document the way that you want to type it. Don't worry about formatting until the end, but type your document the way you want to type it. And once you have the document, the first thing you do is, whoops, that's not going to work out for me. Here we go. I'll try it this way. The first thing you want to do is highlight all of the text in your document. So if I wanted to change my font to the academically correct Times New Roman, I look here at the fonts, I click on that, and I scroll down to Times New Roman. Simple as that. The other thing is that we always want in academic circles, when you're writing an academic paper, you don't want to leave it at font size 11, you want to increase it to font size 12. That is a APA standard across everything really. So Times New Roman 12-point font is pretty standard. The other piece is your spacing, and I'm sure you noticed it in the week 1 assignment. Your assignment was supposed to be double spaced. Right now this is single spaced. To double space it, again, we can look across. The thing about Google Docs is that as you put your mouse over each of these buttons, it'll tell you what it's going to do for you. So you can see that we're left aligned here, and as I keep going, I have line and paragraph spacing. So to double space, that's what I want to do. I click on this, and I want to double space it. All done. The nice thing about Google Docs that is not guaranteed in Microsoft Word is that as you're typing, it saves it for you. So I don't have to worry about, oh, I got to save this if I happen to lose power. It's there. Microsoft Word, if you're using the online version, which is the version that comes with your UAGC account, it also is doing automatic saves. If you're using Microsoft Word from a desktop application, so it's installed on the computer, it is not always set to automatically save as you're typing. And so when a student says, oh my God, I was in the middle of typing my paper and the power went out, if they haven't saved it, there's a chance that they may have to redo that entire work. So one of the great things about having applications that are based online is that it's doing all the saving and the work for you. However, if you don't have internet, you don't have access to it. So there's pros and cons to virtually any software you want to try. I promised that I'd show you the same activity in Microsoft Word. So I will open my Word document. And this is our week 2 lecture, the announcement that I posted on using ONet. The process here is exactly the same. And you'll notice that by default, I still have Calibri and it's still size 11 and it's single spaced. So both Google Docs and Microsoft Word on its default have the same sort of setup. I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to select all of my text in my document, and then I'm going to change the font by coming up to the font, and I could scroll all the way down here to Times New Roman, but as you can see, I use that quite often, so it's a recently used font for me. So I will change that. I will also not leave it at 11 point, I'll leave it at 12 point. And the final thing is that as in Google Docs, as you hover over these buttons, it tells you what it's going to do. So here again, I'm aligned to the button looks exactly the same, line and paragraph spacing. So I can click on that, choose 2 for double, and my paper is now correctly formatted and double spaced, and if I was submitting it as the assignment, I would be ready to go. So that is a short introduction and comparison between Microsoft Word and Google Docs. As always, if you have any questions or if you want to share your own experience using either one of these, Please feel free to respond to this announcement and share your experiences. If I can answer any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Have a great day, everybody.